really getting found is about creating a platform that shows your credibility, your professionalism, the niche you're in, and your value proposition, really, that you're bringing to your audience. So not only you're sharing your expertise, you're you're signaling to your clients, the ones that you want, what you're good at. So you can focus on what you're best at, right? Because you don't want clients, or you optimally want clients that are hiring you for the things that you're best at. And so if you present in a public forum on many platforms what that is and message really clearly, you're going to have much better success, not only by someone who you're engaging. Maybe let's say you're talking with somebody who's interested in your work. What's the first thing they're going to do? Check out your profile on LinkedIn, check out your CV, look at your website, look at all the marketing materials you essentially have. And so the trends are just that. It's about multimedia platforms and following the trends of not just social media, but what is more interest media. So as you know, probably in your personal life, people are using social media more and more for what they're interested in, whether that's medical writing or your dogs or working on your car. You're going to social media in interest media to find out and educate yourself on it. So this is no different. It's really educating your audience, showing that you have a value proposition, that you're an expert in the field you're in. And so among those trends are sort of the most cutting edge, I think, and undervalued are video presence. So the kinds of things that you can do on LinkedIn and on YouTube that really present not just your expertise, but your personality. So now you're going to convey you yourself, how you speak, how you convey ideas, and that's going to speak volumes to the people that are interested in working with you. I saw a statistic about LinkedIn that said 3% of LinkedIn users are posting video content, and 85% of users are consuming. So what does that mean? You have 3% of LinkedIn viewers that are getting all the consumers of that content. And so the field is wide open. And so if you listen to folks who are in the digital marketing space, like one guy I listen to, I don't know if you know him, Gary Vaynerchuk. He goes by Gary V. He's an entrepreneur and sort of social media guru. He's just saying you need to be pushing content out constantly. I mean, granted, he's an extreme kind of personality, but I think the message is clear. You have a free and open platform where you might have to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions on advertising to get the kind of free access that you have to people now. So this is a window of opportunity that may not always be around. So to capitalize it, and especially in its infancy in the video medium, I think is especially important. Just to put a point on those trends, I was working with a medical writing director who was looking for a new position. His company had gotten acquired, like a lot do. So his position was duplicated, so he was let go. And he ended up getting a role after I was kind of doing a search for him. He ended up finding a role. And I said, well, how did you end up doing that anyway? Did you apply? What happened? He goes, no, they found me. They looked at my profile on LinkedIn. They were looking for someone like me, and they engaged me. They sought me out. So that was really telling to me. It's like, well, this is very different from what I'm used to. They actually will do, employees will do this, clients will do this, and they'll seek out the folks that they want to pull in versus trying to open the floodgates with CVs and opportunities, which might be overwhelming. So in another case, there's a regulatory affairs professional who had the same situation. He was laid off after many years. He ended up doing a collaborative video with another regulatory expert who is very well known in the industry. That video circulated to his now employer, who, and many times apparently, his now boss has got this from many different sources, right? And then they ended up saying, hey, you might want to check out this guy for the role you have open. And he sent his recruiters out to go find him. And obviously there's a full-time roles, but I think the philosophy applies to anything, freelancing, whatever it might be. You can see the power in that. And it totally changed the tables. And can you imagine if you have a client saying, hey, I looked at your material and I'm really interested in what you have going on. We have a lot of the pain points that you've been exploring on your content. And how can you help us with these particular problems? Completely different conversation from, hey, here's a job I want to apply for, and how can I sell myself to you as a freelancer?
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing.
Yeah. Because the sales has already happened in the content that they've seen, in the profile, in whatever online presence you have. The sale has already happened. They're coming to you saying, we want what you offer. How do we get you? Like, how do we make this work? And then all you have to think about is the logistics. Am I available? What am I going to charge? What are the details? It's totally different. So you cut out that whole middle chunk, the part where you're chasing people around, reminding them, like, hey, you didn't reply to my email. Like, I didn't hear back from you about this. Like, you don't have to do any of that. So when the priority is on being the authority figure and being a thought leader in your niche and letting that passion come through, because that's what people are looking for, then you can just bypass all of that annoying follow-up, like, oh, nobody wants me, like all that kind of stuff. I don't think that we should be forcing ourselves to do things that we don't want to do. If it's like, it's different if it's just something that makes you uncomfortable and you know that if you practice it or you do it for a while, it's going to be easier or better. Like if you're afraid to be on video just because you've never really done it before, then you might find that you do actually start to enjoy it when you do it more. I personally just don't enjoy sitting in front of a camera and recording stuff by myself. I just don't find it motivating in any way. I prefer to have conversations with people, and I just record everything I do, whether it's a meeting, a conversation, like anything. I record it all, and then afterwards I think, what can I do with that? I could turn it into a written post, I could turn it into an article, I could take a section of the video and do something with it. Depending on who the other person is, I can either cut them out and just make it about me, or I can include them, I can tag them. So I focus on just having conversations and recording everything and being in the zone as much as possible with my niche and the things I'm passionate about. And then afterwards, I just look at all of that and I think, what can I do with it? So our YouTube channel is all organic, and we create it all in that way. And there are other people who create things specifically for YouTube. They come up with their content ideas, they sit down, they record their videos, and they like to batch record everything. They'll just sit down and do a bunch of stuff, and they'll edit it all in a batch and they'll schedule everything, and they like to do it that way. Whatever you like to do is the way you should do it, I think. And I mean, in general, the more you talk and the more you're on video, the easier it's going to be, and the nicer of a time you're going to have. I think doing what Chris is doing right now, where you get started in collaboration with other people who you get along with and you feel more comfortable with it, that's a great way to start. Then naturally you can kind of move into doing more stuff on your own. It starts with the purpose. You have to know why you're doing what you do, who you're serving, why they should care about what you have to say, if it's going to be helpful, how it's going to be valuable. That purpose and that meaning has to be so strong and so clear to you. And it's much bigger than just your niche. It's much more than that. And we'll get into it all in the program, as you guys know. Once you're clear on that, then you have a reason to show up on video. You have a reason to show up and write stuff, say stuff, speak. It's not about you. It's about showing up for the people who need you, as a leader, as an expert. And then, when you think about the visuals of it or whatever, it's not really about that. We don't have to look perfect. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, people much prefer video content that is more organic and more thrown together. And, you don't need fancy equipment or lighting or microphones, or like, it helps, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference. And also, to add to that, the vulnerability side of it. Like, the reason why it can feel really uncomfortable is when we start to share parts of ourselves that we don't normally share. And there are certain things where we don't want to be vulnerable just for the sake of being vulnerable. It actually does have to be relevant to your niche or to your client. It has to still be valuable. There has to be a message there that they resonate with. But if it is relevant, even vaguely relevant, we do have to kind of go there. Like, we do have to find those vulnerable things that we can attach to our story, and because that's where people feel something, and that's where they want to reach out, they want to talk to you. Even if they don't comment on it and like start a public conversation, they might message you directly and want to talk about it. Just to give an example, I had a 3-day workshop the other day, about money, like financial IQ. I've never felt particularly good about managing my money, and I haven't had much confidence in that area. So I was like, I'm going to go, I'm going to learn all the things. One of the exercises we had to do on the very first day when we didn't know anybody was we had to write down our biggest financial disaster. And I was like super vulnerable because I was just writing it for myself. But then afterwards, the host was like, does anyone want to share their thing? And I was just like, I'll do it. And I was terrified because like this is the biggest financial disaster that I've ever had. I went up on stage, they gave me a microphone, and I just read off my thing because I was too nervous to like look everybody in the eye. I said my thing, and it was so funny because I felt like the whole world was gonna end. Like, oh my gosh, everybody knows about this thing. And then the host just looked at me and he said, didn't you recover from all of that though? And I was like, yep. And then everyone starts clapping, and I'm looking around the room and everyone's clapping at me, and then I'm starting to well up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't the end of the world. Like I recovered from it. Like what the heck? But the reason I'm sharing this is because like over the next few days, because this was a 3-day event, so many people came up to me and they said, I really appreciate that you shared your story because I can resonate with this. I can resonate with that. I've been through this. I'm so fascinated about you and your story. They wanted to get to know me. They wanted to hear more about me and how I overcame this thing and why did I end up in Canada in the first place and all this stuff. And I made some really great connections because I was brave enough to go first and to share my most vulnerable thing. And it was terrifying, but it just opened up so many opportunities to properly connect with people as opposed to just very surface level. So I do want to just make sure that you guys know, like, if there is an element of feeling exposed or vulnerable, that probably means that you're doing it right.
Good point. And I found that that's even a hard thing. When I first started posting on LinkedIn, I mean, I know marketing people from Amway, and they're like, "Well, you got to post on LinkedIn a couple times a week." I was at a marketing session at the conference, and I'm like, "Geez, how are you going to create that kind of content?" And but doing that and practicing it, and like feeling like even with text posts, I felt vulnerable. What if I say the wrong thing? What if it's not connecting? What if somebody challenges me? What am I going to do? All these fears popped up. None of that happened, right? And I think to your point, Sophie, you have a challenging time, bad things happen. This too shall pass. And you'll look back on it going, yeah, that happened. And it felt terrible at the time. But look where I am now, maybe because of that, right? Because of the lessons that I've learned, and because this is how we grow, right? Sometimes we make mistakes and we learn from them, and we improve over time.